Having that hands-on experience with coding, web development, and mentorship from female engineers, I think was really impactful for me at such a young age, and being able to have that experience. In my master's program, 80% of my classmates are males. When we're talking about technology like AI, it can have such a drastic impact on our daily lives and also the lives of future generations.
If someone's living in a smart city, do they automatically have access to that smart city?
In theory, yes.
So the proverb that comes to mind to go along with your bit of wisdom that you shared there is, a closed mouth doesn't get fed. What's the worst advice you've ever gotten that you want to take this opportunity to tell everybody, please don't do that? So your journey started in Miami, leading you to Girls Who Code and then startup ecosystems in San Francisco. How did that early exposure to technology and a passion for problem solving shape your lens on the world?
So I was born and raised in Miami, Florida. I moved to San Francisco when I was 18 for my undergrad, my bachelor's in international business at the University of San Francisco. But I grew up with a dad who had been in tech since before I was born. I'm a 2000s baby, by the way. So the tech he was selling in the 90s and early 2000s included, PDA devices, antivirus software. And he built his career in cybersecurity software and has worked with companies like Microsoft, Cisco, Salesforce, Okta, Duo, Arista. I grew up with a dad who traveled to work for conferences, went to sales kickoffs, did training in Seattle and San Francisco, and also worked from home, which in the early 2000s, 2010s, pre-COVID, definitely not as common as it was today. So I will definitely attribute my knowledge and, being pushed or encouraged to go into tech was definitely through my dad. And he actually was the one who had heard and encouraged me to apply for the Girls Who Code summer immersion program, which was in 2016, the junior year or the summer before my junior year. And I definitely recognize that my story, like a father growing up in tech, isn't a common experience, especially in Florida. Maybe in San Francisco, that's a bit more, normal. But
Yeah.
especially growing up, that was not the norm. So for me, coming home, being in Miami, it's definitely it's like bringing back that experience home.
No, that's great. Thanks so much also for just kind of laying out how your environment at home. I mean, your father worked for so many different tech giants and really normalized, you being introduced to essentially a third language, because you also speak Spanish, correct?
Correct.
Right. So
yes.
a lot of times we think about technology as this tool, which it is. But I think people are starting to grasp more that just like anything that you have to learn and practice and then be able to be creative within, it's like a language. Right. So you're
Yeah.
So your father was essentially teaching you this language and ahead of the curve with, even working from home before the rest of the world. Since you've come back to Miami for your master's program, which you said that you just recently started this fall, kind of in the spirit of coming home, what does being back to Miami and in your roots kind of bring, to your approach to your work or the intersection of venture capital, AI, IoT, both where you've come from in San Fran, but also where you're moving in your program?
I mentioned I was a part of Girls Who Code. It's a non-for-profit organization that aims to close the gender gap in technology, teaching girls coding, computer science skills, and providing a supportive community to learn those skills. For me, I was a part of the 7-week immersion program for 11th and 12th graders, which offered 300 hours of immersive instruction in web development, design, robotics, all taught by female engineers. And
That's
Girls Who
great.
Code, yes, it was held actually at FIU and was sponsored by the Knight Foundation. So I was able to do the program at no cost. So now as a master's student coming back to the same campus, FIU, it definitely feels really full circle. And, having that hands-on experience with coding, web development, and mentorship from female engineers, I think was really impactful for me at such a young age. And being able to have that experience, allowed me to build a technical confidence that I might not have been able to in a pretty mixed class. I would say, full transparency, in my master's program, 80% of my classmates are males. So it's pretty crazy,
Um,
the gender disparity that there is still in the industry. So I think it's ever more important having those spaces where you do have community. You are, learning amongst other peers that are like minded, that look like you, that learn like you.
why do you think that's so important? Like the gender makeup, other than of course the level of comfort that you can have approaching the material. Why do you feel that that's like important when it comes to the like resulting product of what you guys might be building or even trying to understand how to build for the future?
Yeah, I think for me, it is so important. The people that are in the room making these decisions, when we're talking about technology like AI, it can have such a drastic impact on our daily lives and also the lives of future generations. So, making sure that there is a space where there are diverse perspectives, it only just allows for smarter and more improved technology later down the line. And again, having a space where you feel confident, you feel comfortable, it allows you to grow and it allows you to go outside of your comfort zone. And, sometimes feeling comfortable being able to ask stupid questions and not having them get knocked down, or um, those things really make a big difference. And I find, even like in sales and tech, it's like I'm not used to sometimes working around women, and even just being able to talk about things outside of work and technology, being able to
Mm-hmm.
just say like, hey, I got my hair done, or oh, I noticed you got your hair done. And those are little things that, or we're humans at the end of the day. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like we need to be able to work alongside everyone. And, I think diverse perspectives are absolute importance. And it's not like only girls, only boys, but again, having that ability to get your hands dirty and be able to like actually like learn and not feel like shot down every 5 seconds, which
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes happens in school and in office spaces.
No, one thing that you said that made me think in similar terms is it's about confidence and confidence in the role of being creative, creating, different technologies or using technologies to create is very important, right? And one of the biggest things I've found as working as a product manager, right, for many different tech companies is where I can bring my confidence and my creativity to kind of like, to the same table. And one of those places is really around the problem. So you talked about, for instance, it's really great when you can just even talk about non schoolwork and just kind of have someone who can understand you and relate. Another thing around that relation is like when there is a problem that tech can potentially solve, but has not yet, it's so important that the person behind the problem or the person that's thinking through the problem is someone who is, being included in that sort of like, how do we understand the problem so that we can get to a solution? And I think that's also one of the reasons it's so important to not only just have a balanced classroom, but like to continuously push for women to be in these areas of opportunity, right? Because they have different problem sets, they have different understandings of the same problem. And even if they have similar understandings of the same problem, they still might have a divergence around the solution.
Absolutely. And again, ensuring that any technology can serve a greater large amount of people. It starts with that inclusive design, and then also, yes, those diverse perspectives. If the teams building these systems come from, a homogenous background or rely on biased data, the benefits are going to disproportionately flow to already privileged populations. And that's really where that equity and representation come in. Finding founders and technologists from underserved communities often see problems and solutions that an outsider might miss. And, designing with equity in mind, we can create services that actually, meet the needs of a greater community and communities that have been typically underserved or underrepresented.
What I've also enjoyed about, kind of getting to know you and getting to know your background a little bit is you are very concerned with the sort of like human element as it overlaps with technology. In fact, for you, I would dare say that they cannot be separate, right? They cannot be separated. And I love that because it's also an ethos that I carry very much too. Like if we created it, why are we talking about it like it's two separate things? And so, yeah, I want to kind of jump into a bit of your, area of expertise and what you have come to research and know. So, like speaking about the buzzwords, AI, Internet of Things, for those who are listening, who may not be as technical, can you share, like in your own like big mama words, or what I like to say, like is very like broken down, simplified, but like maybe a little bit coddling, right? But not in a bad way. But in your own sort of big mama words, explain what these technologies are and how they are transforming our world or the world around you.
For sure. If I had to explain in AI and IoT, the Internet of Things, in big mama terms, I would say that AI is like the brain and IoT is the senses. So, Internet of Things is a network of physical devices that can transfer data one to another without human intervention. So, this is everyday objects around us, your smartwatch, car, even traffic lights, that can feel what's going on by collecting data through sensors. And then AI steps in almost like the brain, making sense of all of that information and helping things run smoother. So imagine like Muni, your city bus. IoT is the GPS, the sensors telling us where the bus is, how many people are on board, if there's traffic ahead. And then AI is like the brain that takes in all of that info and decides on the smartest route. So maybe it could send you a text that your bus is 3 minutes late, so you don't waste time waiting. It will take in the info that, hey, there's crazy traffic and we're going to find a smarter, better route. So that's how those two technologies kind of work together in like a simplified term. But
Mm-hmm.
it goes beyond just like our gadgets, Fitbits. It can really translate to how entire cities work.
It's interesting that you bring out the physical aspect of it because I don't think I had really thought about it like that. Like obviously Internet of Things, and usually things, when we think about the internet, we think about the digital coming into the physical and the physical translating back to the digital. But I never really thought about how these early moments of IoT have really centered on some aspect of the physical, even if we are trying to understand air pollution, right? Like it's intangible, but it's still physical. And I think that relationship is, I think it's really interesting because it's hard for people to really grasp. Like, how do you take something that's a thing and create some level of intelligence around it? And I'm hoping that people, like, as they watch this, as they kind of listen to us, that they can start to unpack that old thinking and kind of like come into this new explorative way of thinking of like, okay, let's think about, yeah, our cars, or let's think about the ground underneath us. I know some cities are actually using kinetic energy, like as people walk, to be able to, transfer energy and, be able to, create backups to, electricity or other things that, it might be powering. But I think it's still very hard for people when they think about Internet of Things. Can you tell me about like your favorite research or project that you've done around like IoT? So like now that we've talked about the definition of it, tell me about something that you have done that really sticks out in your career.
Musa Capital, we recently hosted a hackathon in New York City called the Borough Blitz, where we invited developers, founders, AI enthusiasts alike for 3 days, where we did a hackathon in order to solve some of the city's largest problems around transportation, infrastructure, finding work, and civic engagement, to name a few. And one of the ideas that came out of that weekend was, hey, I sometimes don't feel safe when I'm walking around the city. Or I have been in situations where I kind of want to almost like FaceTime a friend and have like almost have a buddy that there might be someone that's walking a little too close to me, or they might be acting a little shifty, or, there's a million different reasons that you'll feel unsafe in New York City, as we
Yeah.
have, if you're familiar. But what these founders were hoping to solve was, hey, on your phone, you can click a button that will essentially bring up an ADT person or a someone connected to police or services or city services that can be on FaceTime with you while you're in that situation until you reach a point where you feel safe, like once you're in a restaurant or you get onto the subway. But for that point in time where you're not feeling 100%, this person will be on FaceTime with you. And the idea also is to loop in camera systems or any type of surveillance that's already going on in the city. That, like, hey, you're on 34th, you're in Midtown, you don't feel 100%, you want to click this button, you're on FaceTime with someone. And then, should anything happen, we can also connect to the cameras in the surrounding area just to have a better visual on you. And then should we need to, send some kind of rescue services, police, what have you, we can send that to you. So there's really cool ways to feel safer in a city through these kind of interconnected devices. And that's a really, I think, impactful way that as a female, as a woman, directly impacts me. And again,
Hmm.
these tools, can have the ability to benefit you. And this came from a boy whose girlfriend had a not so good situation on the subway,
Mm.
and he wanted to build this the design out of love and out of care, and wanting to make sure that his girlfriend felt safe, even if he wasn't there to answer that FaceTime call.
Smart cities, I think that there's a lot of positivity around them because of what they can potentially bring about, right? Like for Star Wars enthusiasts, like some of these cities that you see that, people are kind of all living together are smart cities. Like it's kind of run automatically. And there's this sort of like fantasy around, man, a smart city is going to be able to, have all these great benefits for everyone in general. If someone's living in a smart city, do they automatically have access to that smart city?
In theory, yes. Um, I think that this shouldn't just be something that we implement in a wealthy neighborhood. This is not something that it's supposed, smart cities, and it's supposed to be democratizing technology and being able to offer access to systems and again, technology that wasn't able to be offered before. You can think of, Wi-Fi being in every single home, and that, it's at a low cost so that it's, approachable for families to be able to have connectivity in their own homes. And that is something that, again, comes with policy and decision making at the top level, and making sure that we are making these systems, not just for luxury upgrades for a wealthy neighborhood. And that's the, again, policy and design choices, having things that are open source data where you can actually be able to access these systems yourself and not have to go through a paywall. Subsidize access to technology as well. So if we have, again, diverse perspectives that are able to get into these technologies like AI, robotics, it's going to be critical to expanding these technologies to underserved communities and ensuring that the talent development is inclusive. And one of the the positives is that we're having more and more graduates, Latino, Black professionals that are coming into the industry now more than ever, which
Yes.
really excites me. And you know, I think I guess I'm more of a like glass half full person in that regard. That I do think that real change is coming, and I do think this has to be implemented in a like equal and accessible manner.
So, from your perspective, where do you see the biggest opportunities for founders who are using technology to solve some of society's biggest problems? And what makes a fundable idea in this space stand out to you?
So, less than 2% of US venture capital went to underrepresented founders in 2023, which is both a social equity issue and just a massive market inefficiency. So at Musa Capital, we are definitely changing this narrative by building a more equitable and efficient venture ecosystem. We focus on underrepresented founders. We will focus on founders that are women, Black, Latinos, Indigenous, LGBT, who are often overlooked by traditional VC. And we are interested in founders that are building the future of work, whether that be through data infrastructure, enterprise software. We really do focus on and are very excited by companies that are leveraging AI. Um, and one of the ways that we support these founders is through free weekly hands-on workshops that we offer through Musa Labs. So we are helping these founders, harness AI for software development, using vibe coding, and leveraging, AI assistant IDEs. And it's helping them to build software faster, smarter, and more efficiently.
Can you maybe give some more details as to like an example of maybe like someone that you saw, get funding for their idea, in as much detail as you can share, just kind of how they were able to navigate that. It needs to be something that's, can expand, but it also needs to be something that is very specific as well.
Yeah. We're working right now with a company, a startup called Season. And the founder, Abby Rashki, I might be butchering her last name. So the founder, Abby, she loves sports. Her favorite sport in particular is F1, like race car driving. And
Yeah.
she found that as a woman wanting to get into a new sport and become a fan, there were a lot
Mm.
of almost like obstacles that she faced in terms of getting the understanding, the lay of the land, and then being able to know, these specific, facts about specific drivers or specific tracks. And she wanted to get that information in almost real time so that when she was watching a race with other people, she could have that information almost in her back pocket in order to be a more engaged fan. And she found that this wasn't just, female sports, but females that were interested in all kinds of sports. So where she started was, from this problem situation of, hey, I'm a fan that just wants to get into sports, whichever sport it might be, and I'm facing these kind of obstacles, and feeling like I fit into this market. She created this AI chat through WhatsApp that you would say, hey, I love I love basketball. I like the Miami Heat. And I'm interested in knowing about rookie players. And it would start giving you feedback and messages based on your specific interest. And then from there, the other side of the WhatsApp, using the WhatsApp application, was that you can now then be connected to other fans through WhatsApp groups. So that would be, F1 and Pilates. You can join a group like that, or coffee lovers and soccer, or coffee lovers and the Miami Heat. And then you can join these cohorts. And then on the other side, where this could really expand and has those legs is, having that data on these different sports fans, because traditionally through streaming services, you're not able to segment the market in terms of knowing, are there female viewers versus male viewers? How many? What are their preferences? So there's also that aspect of that data being valuable for ads.
Wow, thank you for sharing that example. And like, I can't wait to sign up for this app because I feel like I have some weird intersections that I'm just curious to know if other people would even join my group so that I can have some friends around like these weird intersections that I might be interested in. What advice would you give people in trying to get started in venture capital, maybe smaller, firms that might be interested in like, private members or angel investing?
I don't think I have a good answer for this one, just because
Okay.
it's a beast. I'll be really transparent. And this is one of my, takeaways for anyone who's looking to get into this space.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid. I think this could be the best advice I could give is don't be afraid of a cold outreach. Do not be afraid. If you want to work with a specific team, you are interested in a company, you want to be an investor, reach out to those people that excite you and to those opportunities that you are excited by. Don't be afraid to send an email or two and a LinkedIn and maybe a phone call, because having, just being able to put yourself out there opens the many doors. It helps, build your network. It helps you connect with people, and it helps you actually get that relevant opportunity. Myself, I attended Musa, one of the Musa labs, and introduced myself and what I was interested in. And our general partner, Alan Smith, said, hey, we have an opportunity for the summer if you'd like to, set up an interview. And I reached out, set that time up. And I've since then have been working with Musa Capital now as an associate.
So the proverb that comes to mind to go along with your bit of wisdom that you shared there is a closed mouth doesn't get fed, right? Don't be afraid to just reach out and do that sort of cold email. You never know where to go. There's no straightforward path to get into venture, but it starts by kind of opening your mouth, right? So a closed mouth doesn't get fed.
Absolutely.
You gave me your best sort of advice, right? Which is closed mouths don't get fed in your sort of way that you said it.
Yeah.
What's the worst advice you've ever gotten that you want to take this opportunity to tell everybody, please don't do that shit? Like, what's the worst advice that you're like, don't do that?
Yeah, I think like the best is like your I don't know if this is like relevant to the whole, but like your coworkers are not your friends. That's always
Yeah,
one. Like
there it
I
is.
always like, we're working with really cool tech of really cool companies and all that's great, but you just got to be mindful of the people that you are opening into your circle, and knowing what to say and what not to say in a work environment. Don't complain to, like knowing who to complain to and who not to complain to. Um, I think that's a pretty good advice. I've definitely had people be like, "Oh, you should. Why don't you just like tell your coworkers about this or your friends or your boss?" And I'm like, it's not going to end in my favor. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and I think that also leans into like, you should seek out mentors and communities that support you. I found like in my early career, I didn't really have a necessarily a mentor that I could lean to ask sometimes those questions that you don't really want to ask your boss about. So I think it's being a little proactive on trying to find those people, whether it be family, your chosen family, your like community, if it's you do a hobby outside of work, finding people that are not work related to talk through some issues that you're having, and just not keeping that on your own.
Yeah. No, that's a great one because you're right. Your coworkers, you ain't your friends. Like, and even if they do, don't enter into the relationship thinking that that's something automatic, right? Like that happens in time, if at all. And if it doesn't, sometimes that is the blessing because not everybody you want to be your friend that
Yeah.
like worked with, because that's just not the relationship. So, um,
I've had friends where it's just like it bites them in the butt, and I'm like, why did you should have never said like told them like what you did over the weekend, because now all
yeah.
your and it's just like then that's learning, and like you either learn because someone tells you, hey, you shouldn't do that, or you learn through like the experience of it happening to yourself. So I always think about that. It's like you either learn by someone telling you, or you get the wisdom from dealing with the situation yourself.
Well, thank you so much, Elizabeth, for taking time out on a Saturday on a holiday weekend. I do hope that you have some great plans to go to after this, but I appreciate you taking the time to just talk to me about really everything that you've been learning, especially after going out to San Francisco, now coming back, starting your master's program, machine learning, applied AI. I wish you the best. I know I'm going to be seeing a lot of great things from you. And I just honestly appreciate that there are people like you in the position that you are in that can give opportunities to the Abbeys of the world, other female founders, other people of color, other people who deserve a chance, who are trying to step into this opportunity space that we're in right now. So thank you so much for today. And thank you for everything that you're going to be doing over these next few years. And I cannot wait to just continue to see all those things. And yeah, one day sit back with some wine at Napa and just say, man, it was all a dream.
Absolutely. No, thank you so much for this opportunity to get to kind of talk through quite a bit of things. It was a great time chatting with you. And yes, thank you so much, and hope you have a great rest of the weekend.
All right, you too. Thanks.
Thank you.